So friends, in our gospel today, Jesus is preparing his disciples for his departure. So John 15, this is the long extended Last Supper discourse in John's gospel. It's beautiful, and he's telling them about what's going to happen and the gift that he's going to be giving to them, the Spirit of truth that he will send upon them, the Spirit that will testify to the Son, and the Son who testified to the infinite goodness of the Father. And there's just so much in there, and we'll have some more days to be soaking in John 15. So much more could be said, but I want to focus our attention back to the responsorial psalm. I want to invite us today to kind of just linger on those words, because they're very easy to say, but very difficult, I think, to believe. That little versicle that we prayed for the responsorial psalm. The Lord takes delight in his people. The Lord takes delight in his people. Let's personalize that a little bit more. The Lord takes delight in me. The Lord takes delight in you. Here's the question. Do you believe that? Does your heart believe that? Do you live as if that's true? Do you pray as if that's true? See, my experience, like not only with myself, but walking with people in spiritual direction confession over these past many years, is that most people don't. Most of us don't. That our hearts much more readily, I would say unconsciously, carry this belief that goes something like, the Lord tolerates his people. The Lord tolerates me. Like in our culture, right? So tolerance in our culture, tolerance has become seemingly the virtue par excellence. It's the greatest thing, and the worst thing you could be seen as intolerant. Oh, gosh, okay. That's nonsense. That's just poor thinking. Why? Because we tolerate things that are of their nature already disagreeable, right? Like, none of us are tolerating this beautiful day today, right? Nobody tolerated the weather this weekend. Like, oh gosh, it's just 70 degrees, gorgeous, no clouds, light breeze. I'll tolerate this. Like, no. Like, I'll tolerate sitting in a waiting room waiting to be called for an appointment. Or I'll tolerate the overcrowded elevator and the person next to me who doesn't wear deodorant, right? Or I'll tolerate the person talking to me really close who's got horrible breath. Like, that's what we tolerate. Okay, anyway, I digress on the tolerance business. But I think many hearts have this deep fear that God is merely tolerating me. That he's merely tolerating me. That I'm hanging on by a thread, that I've already tested his patience. I'm just a step or two away from like really blowing it. And he's going to just really blow up on me. That he holds his nose whenever he comes close to me. Or he's just rolling his eyes whenever I share my little problems with him. Tolerating me. Friends, like none of that is true. None of that is true. The Lord takes delight in his people. The Lord takes delight in you. He doesn't tolerate you. He doesn't merely put up with you. He loves you, right? You light up his heart. You're the cause of the smile that stretches across the Father's face. This is so significant. St. Ignatius of Loyola, who's one of the doctors of the church when it comes to prayer, St. Ignatius of Loyola, when he was giving advice to his retreatants, he said, before you pray, when you have your time of prayer, before you pray, a step or two before where you are to pray, you should pause for the space of an Our Father. So not a long time, just a little chunk of time. And with your consciousness raised on high, to consider how the Father is beholding you right now. That before you sit down, before any of us pray, we should pause and we should look up and to consider how the Father right now is looking at me with delight. Because if we start anywhere else besides the Father's delight in us, we're going to be led down destructive roads that are paved by the enemy. The first place is his delight in you. His delight in you. So chew on that today, friends. Let that soak in and permeate your hearts. As the Father does not tolerate you, he loves you. He actually delights in you, which is pretty astounding when you consider who we are. Amen.